Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. We're at the Quilt Cottage, the business in the Centennial Plaza, formerly known as the Centennial Mall in Hayes. Joining us is co-owner Kari Schultz as we talk with Kari about the Linus Project, or Project Linus, if you will. Find out more about that. But first, we wanted to visit with Kari about the Quilt Cottage itself, a business that's been in Hayes for what now, Kari, 18 years?
18 years. Hard to believe it's going by
Tell me about
quickly.
the Quilt Cottage. What do you do?
We have a lot of fabric, supplies, patterns, everything you need to create a quilt. We also added yarn about 7 or 8 years ago, so we have a huge selection of fine knitting yarns, hand knitting yarns. We have classes. We have a lot of samples up in the store for inspiration, and we pretty much provide personal service to help people pick out a project, whether it's a gift or something for themselves. So,
how did you get started in quilting, Kari?
when I moved to Hayes, which has now been 21 years ago, if you can believe that, a very nice lady took me under her wing and knew I liked to sew and took me to the local quilt guild. And it didn't take long. I was bit and infected, and I've been hooked ever since. So,
We used to think of sewing as being a primary part of an activity during the day. It kind of waned a bit, but boy, it came back strong, didn't it, Kari?
it came back very strong, and it's a very creative outlet now. People don't sew because they have to, they sew because they want to. It's a way to create something with your hands, and something probably useful and pretty.
And lasting, too.
And very lasting.
But let's bring the social aspect into it, too. You know, these quilters guilds, they have really social connections, don't they, Kari?
They do. It's all important to meet and be with other people that share your interests and share ideas. And it's very inspirational to go to a group and show them something you've made and get that feedback. You can bring things in here too, and we will ooh and ah appropriately. We love to see show and tell. We love to have customers bring in completed projects. We do have a knitting group that meets here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the afternoon. They pretty much sit in this area we're sitting in now and work on their individual projects, and I think there's about as much socialization as knitting that goes on here. So.
Well, and if you want to ooh and ah, come take a look at some of the beautiful designs that are already posted here at the Quilt Cottage. Really an art form in itself when these finished quilts, regardless of the size of the quilt, Kari.
Absolutely. You can hang them on the wall, you can put them on the bed, you can decorate just about any part of your house with a quilt. So.
And part of that quilting project is called Project Linus. Talk about Project Linus, would you, Kari?
Project Linus was started in 1995. There was a picture that appeared in a magazine of a little girl who had been undergoing chemotherapy, and she was had lost her hair, was maybe growing back a little wispy, and she was dragging a little blanket. And the gal that started Project Linus saw that picture and she thought, I want to make blankets to give to children who are suffering, whether they be ill or have maybe suffered the loss of a home or the loss of a loved one, or just in need of any sort. And she started small and started making handmade blankets to give to children in need, and that was in 1995, and it has grown to, there are chapters in all 50 states now.
So with that one single idea, this has ballooned to 50 states now. All states have a Project Linus.
And many states have more than one chapter. I think Kansas has 3 chapters now. So
Obviously named after that famous Peanuts character, Linus von Pelt, who always had the blanket.
Drug his blankie around. So
talk about the local project, would you, Kari?
What I do as the local coordinator is collect blankets from anyone who wants to make a blanket. And I get blankets from quite a variety of sources. I have individuals who bring me blankets. There is a quilt guild in Colby that makes blankets. The Buckeye FCE makes blankets. And most recently, within the last year, I have been receiving blankets from the Norton Correctional Facility, where a group of the inmates there actually create quilts and send them. send them to me via someone brings them down and delivers them. And then I distribute those blankets. I use Community Assistance Center a lot. Lori Mortinger helps with distribution of those blankets. I also give them out if I hear of a person in need. I've received individual requests. They can also go to the hospital or to the domestic violence shelter.
Are they primarily for children or adults benefit as well, Kari?
They are specifically for children. That was the idea when Project Linus was started. They go from children up to the age of 18, and again, we have a lot of latitude with who they're given to. So a child in need can be, just about any kind of need. So.
I know you've hooked up not only with Community Assistance Center, but a lot of other locations, and you've also contacted churches that give you some input on blankets as well, right?
Yes, I speak to various churches, and sometimes I receive blankets. The other thing Linus does is collect supplies to be given to people who want to make blankets. For instance, the inmates in Norton have very little resources. They don't, can't exactly run to the shop and purchase things to make a quilt with, and so they are always liking donations of fabric or batting or thread.
Are there requirements as far as the completed blanket, dimension sizes, types of materials used, anything like that? Any restrictions, Kari?
The main thing is they're to be made of all new and washable materials for obvious reasons. And then size-wise, the smallest that we really like to have is about a 36-inch square, which is, of course, would be for a baby, up to a twin, because these are given to children up to the age of 18. And so a twin blanket is going to be something they can wrap up in. And again, they need to be washable.
Well, I'm showing the little Project Linus certificate that you have here to kind of a mailer, if you will. Folks can pick these up here at the Quilt Cottage if they have interest.
Yes.
Kari?
I'll bring a stack here, yeah.
All right.
That sounds good.
Project Linus, providing security through blankets is the quote, with the national headquarters in Bloomington, Illinois. Talk a bit about some of the personal stories you've heard, Kari.
Children aren't always the ones to say thank you, but that through the agencies that I give them to, Lori Mortinger has always told me that that the children are absolutely thrilled to just have something. Whether if it's a child that maybe doesn't have much or is suffering in some way, and they have that bit of security, Lori translates those stories to me.
It's something really that is a great thing for a child, because it is that child's. It is something that is theirs alone.
It's theirs, and whether it provides warmth or just that Linus thing where they're just hanging on to it for a sense of security. And I also want to mention that the blanketeers get a lot out of it too. The blanketeers are people who make the blankets, and that's a Project Linus kind of word that they came up with. And blanketeers get a lot out of it too, because they're doing something. You don't know who's going to receive this blanket, but you're making something that that a child will appreciate or cuddle up to or have or cherish. So you get that personal sense of satisfaction out of it.
So once again, there is the type of material that should be washable. Basically then the blanketeers are on their own as far as creativity goes?
Yeah, it can be quilted, it can be pieced. We get some fleece blankets with the little tight edges. It can be knitted or crocheted. So it's kind of up to the blanketeer. And there are patterns, free patterns on the Project Linus website if they need some inspiration to get started. There are plenty of patterns there.
You say there are chapters in all 50 states now. Do you see this perhaps going worldwide at some point, Kari?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I've not really seen anything about that come through, but I suppose that's a possibility someday. I don't really know.
There is obviously a need for this type of a project nationwide, Kari.
I think so. And after a tragedy or a catastrophe, we sometimes get an email, which Linus calls a call for blankets. After Hurricane Katrina, I got an email. We need blankets, and this is where to send them. And they give you all the specifics of where to ship the blankets. And they also, it was interesting, after Katrina, they requested lighter weight blankets. You don't want to send a wool blanket to Louisiana. Yeah. So So they send out specific requests, and then when they have enough, they'll send an email. Okay, stop. We've got enough now, or all they can handle at least. You know, that's kind of how it's limited. So, you know, we do get that communication if there is a need in a specific area. Most of ours are given locally, but they have gone out of the area too.
I wondered if you had any kind of numbers. Do you have any reference on numbers so far?
I looked at that on the website this morning and didn't write it down, so it didn't stick in my head as far as nationally. But I can tell you, I have done Project Linus in the Hayes area since 2005. So in the, 7 years I've been doing it, we have given 1,057 blankets away.
1,057 blankets going to young people who might not have anything after particular incidents occurred.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because a thought occurred that, you know, it could be something like a flood, it could be a tornado, you know, some kind of a disaster that destroys a family's possessions, and that very special, whether it would be for a child a special toy or something like that, all of a sudden they don't have anything. And then Project Linus is able to provide a blanket, a security, if you will.
And specifically, they want them handmade, and that is one of the things that's addressed on the website. They want handmade because that just adds that sense of personal aspect to it. So.
All right, now, if somebody is interested in becoming a part of Project Linus, Kari, what should they do? What can they do?
They can contact me either here at the Quilt Cottage. Come on in, and if I'm not here, the girls are very good about giving me messages. They'll take your name and phone number. You can also call me at home, and I'm happy to give you my home number, and you'll have to leave a message because I don't seem to be there much. Or you can email me, and you can go on the Project Linus website, and my home phone and email are both listed on the Project Linus website, and feel free to contact me that way.
And this could be for groups, organizations, individuals who would like to become a part of this project.
Yes, a number of years ago, the Girl Scouts gave us a big donation of like 100 blankets. So
you don't have to have any numbers or any pressure, do you? I mean, you don't have to have a deadline for create a blanket or anything?
No, it's absolutely at your own pace, and you know, there are no quotas to meet. It's just whatever people feel moved to give.
How did you get involved in this?
I had heard about Project Linus, and there was a local coordinator, and she approached me and said that she was leaving the area and would no longer be able to do it. Would I be interested? So I researched it a little bit, and it seemed like a no-brainer. It's obviously something that's right up my alley. So
it takes a lot of work to coordinate, though, but you get satisfaction out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
As do those blanketeers.
Yes.
Who are actually the creators who make Project Linus possible. So, further information then available through Kari Schultz at the Quilt Cottage in the Centennial Plaza. It's Project Linus, again, providing security through blankets, and you can find out more at the websites for Project Linus. And thanks to Kari Schultz of the Quilt Cottage for joining us on our Community Connection. Thanks to our producer, Jeff Durall. And thanks to you for joining us on Eagle Community Television.